to another episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? And what is my guest today reading and writing? I'm so glad to welcome Noel Caraccio. And she is an avid golfer. She's a lawyer. She's a writer. She's an amazing woman, and you're going to love meeting her. Hey, Noel.
Good afternoon, Karen. Nice to see you.
It's great seeing you. It really is. I didn't even introduce myself. Maybe you're new to me. I am Karen E. Osborne. I am author of Getting It Right, Tangled Lies, Reckonings, and the newest, True Grace, historical fiction and inspired by my grandma. So let me tell you a little bit about Noelle. So she's a practicing attorney. She's a volunteer. She's an avid golfer. And she's the author of 4 novels, just like me. We have so much in common. Secrets Change Everything, which she co authored. And I want to hear about that. Excuse me. Shattered City, Stand in the Box, which is the one we're going to focus on today, and Revenge, which is a sequel to Secrets Change Everything. This is so cool.
Thank you.
Now, the order, so Stand in the Box, is that the newest one?
Actually, Karen, Stand in the Box was written last, but Secrets and Revenge, I think you just got the title a little goofed up there. Secrets and Revenge was written third, but published last June.
Okay, so Secrets and Revenge was the last one published.
Correct.
And the sequel, Secrets Change Everything, is that out or?
That was the very first one. That's about probably 10 years ago now.
I see. So I flipped it by mistake there.
That's okay.
Okay. So we got to say the titles many times. So that's going to be
That's
good to
good. We want
remember,
everyone to
right?
know those titles, right?
That's right. So tell us about your latest book. Tell us the premise. Just give us a little thumbnail sketch.
Okay. Stand in the Box is the story of two little girls, Megan and Kristen, ages 10 and 12, whose parents are killed in a car crash. And they name an uncle on each side of the family as the co-guardians. Now, these two men are not related by blood or marriage. They've never been married. They never had kids. And all of a sudden, they and these two little girls are thrown into this situation. And you can imagine the mess it causes as they try to find their way through this new relationship.
Wow. Wow. So is this a book written for adults or is it written for children?
I think I think the audience could easily be uh, anywhere from middle school on up. I think
Mhm.
the 10 and 12-year-olds would appeal to the kids.
Mhm.
I think a high school kids it could be a great book to discuss. And there's, as an attorney, you write about what you know. So in every one of my books, there's something related to legal. If you want me to just say it now, there's in one of them there's black market adoptions. In one of them there's a legal proceeding. In Stand in the Box, there's a guardianship proceeding. Um, in Secrets and Revenge, we have the bad guy in Dubai because, excuse me, because there's no extradition to the United States. So you're right, what you
Mm. Yeah, and you pull your legal, and it makes it for a much more authentic read,
I think so.
also. So these poor little girls. So tell me what you love about these two girls. What is special about them?
It was very interesting to me because I honestly thought that the two girls would be the main focus. And yet, Megan, as I wrote it, she just took over. She's much more the character. That wasn't how I intended it. It's just what happens when you write. Some people I
Mhm.
know have the whole thing on an outline. That's not how I do it, which surprises me because that's certainly not how I write when I write an affidavit or a brief or a contract. But here, it's the character seems to take over. So this little Megan is a smart cookie. She's interested in, her parents were killed in a car crash. And so at one point in the story, she takes her uncle's car for a joyride, and she goes 2 miles because she wants to see what it's like to drive a car until she runs up on somebody's lawn. Then she gets charged with driving without a license, so they have to appear in family court. And they impress on her how the judge is going to make the decision, and she has to tell the judge what happened. And and at the same time in school, she's learning about the 5 parts of a letter. They're learning how to write business letter and a personal letter.
Mm.
So Megan is smart enough then to write a letter afterwards to the judge directly and tells him about the situation and says, my uncles are mean to me. And so this opens
Mm.
another whole can of worms. So the kid
Wow,
knows how
she
to
is.
manipulate. She
Yes,
does. She does.
she's smart. She's smart,
She
and she's
is.
brave too.
She is.
Right.
And sometimes she's whiny, and sometimes she's whiny, and
Yeah.
sometimes she digs her heels in.
It's funny, you said that, the characters, so like you, I do not map out my stories because my characters have so much power that I can map it out and it doesn't do any good because, like you said, they go where they want to go. And also, like you, the characters always have something that annoys me about them too. I love them, but I make sure that they have some little annoying characteristic. So, like you're whiny, sometimes whiny, Megan. Yeah, yeah. It just makes them that they are real. In fact, they are real.
And when
Yeah,
she digs her heels in, it's really hard for the adults to move her.
yeah. So I was very curious about co-writing. I know that's a previous book. So I'd love to know what that was like, and would you ever do it again?
Yes and yes, but let me tell you, um, I wrote the first. I have to backtrack for 1 second. I was an
Yeah.
English major in college. I had a Danforth fellowship for a PhD in English, and I really wanted to go for a PhD in English, but I could see that there were no jobs. There were just no
Mm.
jobs. So I decided to go to law school instead. But I always had this interest in writing. I can remember being a senior in college, and I took a course on contemporary plays and thinking, I could do that. I could write that. But it just went by the wayside. Life got in the way.
Mm.
So my closest friend, who was actually a physical therapist, wanted to write a book of her dog. And we talked about it. And I said, maybe this is something we can do together. Well, it turned out the dog was just a minor blip on the screen, but I have to tell you, I enjoyed writing it with her. It's a very different experience. What would happen is I would write something or she would write something, and then we'd get together and we'd agree on it, we'd disagree on it, we'd fight about what was going into the book. I got the nickname from my friend Maggie, Egg, which is English grammar guru. All right. So, that obviously that's where some of my talents lie is, I wanted to make sure that the grammar was correct in what we were doing. But what I liked about it in particular is, um, you got feedback from somebody else, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. And I,
Mhm.
I find that difficult even now. Like, you're writing something, is it good? It's hard to tell. You're living in your own head. You know, sometimes I'll have people read the book and edit it a little bit for me, or tell me what they think, or find grammatical errors or find typos that you just don't see because you know
Mhm.
what you wrote. And so you get some feedback that way. But I liked having the other person, um, working with me. We made we always talk about, we made a rookie mistake, which is we killed off a very good character. We killed her off, and that was a mistake.
But who knew,
Who knew?
right? We
Who
learn. We
knew?
learn as we learn as we go. I use beta readers. I don't wait till the end. I send like right now, I'm about 40,000 words in for my next novel, and I have 3 beta readers reading it already, just to make sure that developmentally, it's not them correcting grammar or anything like that. It's like, do you care about these characters? Does it make sense? Do you believe them? Those kinds of things. It is hard to write and just write in your head. I agree with that 100%. So
How did you find the three people?
oh, these are friends who are wonderful readers. One is my son, who's a literary writer. That's not what he does for a living, but he's in some of the best magazines, his short stories, and he's always so insightful. And he's kind in the sense of the way he delivers it is with empathy, but he's direct. One of my novels, he said, "You let me down as a reader. You made promises, and the way that this is ending, you didn't keep one of them."
Wow.
Wow. But that was
Wow.
great. That was so great, and so I went and I reworked the end, and I sent it to him, and he said, "All right, you got it. You nailed it." So you
That's
just
super.
need yeah, you need people who read really good stuff, and then because he's a writer also, it's really helpful. Anyway, thank you for asking me that. So you already spoke a little bit about this. How does your profession impact your writing? And you told us that there's always some element in each story. I was very intrigued by the comment you made earlier. You said, when I write a brief, when I write, something that's good for the law, it's so different than writing for fiction. When you are writing the legal part of the book, when you're bringing in the legal aspect of the book, how does that work? I mean, is your legal brain having you sort of write in one way, and your fiction brain having you write in another way? Is there any conflict there?
Well, let me just say, if I'm writing an affidavit or if I'm writing a brief or if I'm writing a contract, especially with an affidavit or a brief, I'm arguing a point. I want the judge to agree with my point. Okay, this is why I'm wrong. This is why the client should get the relief we're asking. That's different. But writing about being in a courtroom, I mean, I've been there so many times and seen so many different clients and opponents and judges that that is easy to write about. Now, I will tell you that I have occasionally taken scenes from real life. I
Mm.
have a friend who was more than 10 years older than I am, who was an attorney in Greenwich. And, he was older. He was very good to me when I'd call for advice and everything. And he used to do a lot of trial work as a young man. And he told me the story about he was trying a case and his opponent was trying to cozy up to the jury. Now, in New York, you have to stand at the podium. You don't wander around like you see on television. Apparently, in
Oh.
Connecticut, at that point, you could. And so the guy went over to his opponent went over to sit on the jury box, and he fell in. And so I used that. I used that in one of the novels. I used that in Shattered City, actually. You know, um,
Yes, I always say to people, "Be careful what you say to me, you might end up in one of my novels. Be
yeah,
careful." And I'm
that's
so
right.
disappointed to hear that Law& and Order isn't correct, that you can't walk right up to the jury and look them in the eye and know, huh?
No, nope, not even
I'm a Law& and
close.
Order I'm a Law& and
I
Order
love it
lawyer.
too. I watch it. I watch it all the time, but it's not real. And just like I guess the doctor shows are not real, and you certainly don't get into court as fast as they do. You file the lawsuit today, and they're in court tomorrow. Oh no, it's not anywhere close.
Yeah, they only have an hour.
That's true. That's that's true.
So, are you working on something now?
I am. I have about 300, a little over 300 pages done. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't think it's the oncoming train. I think I'm within about 25 or 50 pages of ending it. And it's
Oh.
taken me I think I started at the very end of October of 22. So it's taken me about 16 months to do it. Originally, and this is what we talked about, how things change.
Mhm.
Originally, it was supposed to be the sequel to Shattered City because a few people had said to me, I can see what you did. You left the bad guy still around. Okay. He's
Mm.
still with us. He fled to Canada, but you didn't kill him off or anything. And there was a minor, she was a minor character in Shattered City, you can't develop 10 characters. You just can't do it. So she was sort of a minor character, and I always thought she was a good, strong woman. She's a doctor. She's the CEO of the hospital, and he was one of the bad guys in Shattered City. He was one of the people who helped to set off the dirty bombs. But now this clandestine organization, which I call the Brotherhood, wants him to come back to the United States under a pseudonym, and they want him to help them, and they may do something bad to this hospital that she's the CEO of. So the
Oh,
yeah, so I don't know what it's going to be called. It may be called something like Nothing is What It Seems, or It's Never What It Seems, or something like that. I don't know. I
oh, I
don't
like It's Never What It Seems. I like that.
like that. Okay,
I
good.
do.
It's
It
because
sounds very,
I didn't get the title for Shattered City until way, way into it. When I wrote a scene about Megan talking to one of her uncles, who was her father's brother, and talking to him. He talks to her about being afraid, and that when they were kids, his father, they played Little League. The father got hit by a ball. Next time he was afraid to go to play. And, and the brother convinced him that you have to do what you're afraid of. You have to stand in the box. Now, I didn't want to call the
mm,
book Stand in the Batter's Box. Everybody would think it was a baseball book. But I
right.
didn't get the title of that book until I wrote that scene. And that
Yeah.
was
Wow.
late into the novel.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, what are you reading? What are you writing? So tell us about, was there a book that you read at some point in your life that either had a big impact on you personally or you as the writer?
I love Nelson DeMille, and I think
Yeah.
I've read all of his. And
Yeah.
what I like about him is that his books are so varied. They're not all this. They're not all the same kinds of things. You don't know what you're going to get. It's like
Mm,
until you unwrap the piece of chocolate, you don't know what you're going to get. And I love that. I love Michael Conley and I love Lisa
mm,
Scottolini. And the reason I love them is they have situated those novels in a particular place. You can actually find the places that they're talking about, and I think that gives a richness to the story.
mm-hmm,
In Secrets Change Everything, that one is clearly set in Westchester County, which is a suburb of New York City, and the people that read it from Westchester loved that they could find these places that we talked about. I think it adds a certain richness to it.
I
Um,
agree with that. Like you, all of my books take place in New York, and Westchester plays a prominent role in just about every book because you write what you know
mhm,
also. And
mhm.
yeah, so and making it real. But I did make up a city in Westchester.
You made up a
I just
city?
I did. I made up a city. So one of my books is in a made up city.
Okay, all
It
right.
was fun. It was so much fun making it up, and picturing it and situating it and the streets and naming all the streets and all that. But when you read it, you clearly know you're in Westchester, and people guess all the time which city I kind of modeled it after.
That's a very ingenious idea. I love that.
It's fun. It
I,
gave me more it gave me more freedom.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I could make things. I love making things up, so it just freed me a little bit more. But my other books took place in Mount Kisco and in Bedford, and places that I knew well.
Where you lived at
Yeah,
one point? Yeah, yeah. Because
yeah,
you did. Mine, I have a couple we mentioned Rybrook, where I live,
yes.
White Plains, and the building where the courthouse is. In fact, in one of I think it's Secrets Change Everything. We even have there's a big diner called City Limits Diner, that I mentioned in the book, and I said something to them. We had a book signing there a number of years ago too.
That was so clever. I love City Limit Steiner too. It was very clever. So Thank you for your book recommendation, your author recommendations. We appreciate that very much. And now we've got everybody intrigued. Everybody wants to read your books. Everyone wants to know more about you. So, how can our audience find you?
It's very simple. It's my website. It's Noel Caraccio. And so I'll spell it for you. Noel, then all run together, CARACCIO.com. The website is really, it came out very well. I'm happy about it. And
It did.
we just added a couple of weeks ago audio trailer on each book. So we have people reading about 3 or 4 minutes worth of the book with music and sound effects that go with it. And that's been a big addition. So I think that's going to be a hit.
Yeah, it's a great website. I really love your website. I visited it in, in preparation for today, and I think it's one of the better websites I've seen. So good
Thank
for
you.
you. Good for you. So I hope that you will do that, that you will visit Noelle's website, that you will go to your bookstore of choice and buy a copy of her current book or any of the others. And you'll see all the books on her website, and that you will let her know. You will reach out and say, "Hey, Noelle, I met you on What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing?" Until next time, everybody, have a great, great week. Bye bye.